Pawpaw Sammy here. Today, I'm doing my Irish potatoes. I did this complete video and my speaker went out. I got it all ready to edit, and guess what? No sound whatsoever. And I don't like voiceover. It just takes too long. It's too messy. So we're going to start from scratch. Okay. Today, my seed potatoes come in. This is the 6th of January. They always ship them early, for some reason, early January. Now, there's 4 or 5 ways you can prepare these potatoes. You can stick them in the ground whole. You can cut them in half, so you can quarter them. It don't matter. But what you need is to make sure, if you're going to cut them up like I have, that you got at least 2 eyes on each one. Okay. Now, the thing, oh yeah, I want to show you this too, what I'm thinking about it. If you have a closed blade knife, like a case, which I do, and you cut these potatoes up with your folding knife, your case knife, and close it, in a couple of weeks it's going to rust. That's got a lot of starch in it. Turns to sugar. Gets in your folding on your knife blade. Pretty soon your blade won't close. Use a long blade knife, wash it off, you got no problem. Now, on your potatoes, you got one end where the mama was. You got one end where your mama was, or where it was hooked to the mama plant. Okay. Now on the other end, what you see where I've cut them off, is where most of your buds are, your eyes. That's what forms your big potatoes, is your eyes. Now, a lot of people take these potatoes and they'll tell you, now if you want to get them the eyes to grow, you get them started, you wet them down, moisture, not wet, but moisture, stick them in a cool, dark place and forget about them. No, you can do that. I don't like that. What I do with mine is, when I cut them, I make sure I got the 2 eyes, like I said. All right. When I get through with that, I take them and I put them in an open light place where it's cool. Plenty of light and it's cool. In about 3 or 4 days, a week or so, this thick, starchy layer will actually dry. And once it dries, you can turn them over and they'll go ahead and sprout in 4 or 5, 6 weeks. Now, whenever I take my potatoes off, notice they're in little pieces. To me, this is excess. You don't need it. If you take this potato whole and stick it in the ground without breaking the skin, you're in pretty good shape. But if you cut it in halves or quarters, then you got a problem, because it might start rotting if you leave too much of the potato on it. So what I do is I take off the majority. I just take it off and just set it on the side, boil it, stick it in a worm bin or whatever, and that's the end of that. Now I'm gonna take these and put them in there and show you how I put them to let them dry out and start to sprout. That's my way of doing it, and I've done it for quite a while. But that's, once you get them cut up and get them into the box to dry, it takes 3 to 4 weeks before they'll start blooming out like this. And once you get them to this stage, you want to get them in the ground. Because if you get the shoots long and white looking, they're going to break off. So you need them short and nubby. And that way they won't break off when you plant them. This is where I bring them to dry, right there. Now, I forgot to mention that mine are spaced out in the box. You can see that. But sometimes you'll have a bunch of them and they might be touching. Well, if they start touching too much, they'll stick. It turns to sugar and they'll stick. When they stick, there's a good chance they're going to rot. So if you got a bunch of them in a box like that, make a point to come in there every day or two, and swish them around with your hands. Make sure they're not sticking. Now they can touch, as long as you keep them stirred around where they don't stick, and it won't hurt a thing. Now in this case, this right here on the left is my LSU Gold. It sprung up my garden. Don't ask me how. I don't know. It wasn't planned. But anyway, I dug it up, brought it inside. Now this baby right here, this jewel right there, is a jalapeno. If you'll notice, you can see where I cut the devil out of it. I mean, I pruned it. That thing was about 3 foot tall. I pruned it, trimmed up the roots, brought it inside, put it in here, and leave it alone. Next year, I'll take it back outside and stick it in the ground, and I'll have peppers up to glory and nothing flat, no time at all. Now this machine right here tells me exactly how much moisture is in that plant. And right now it's got plenty of moisture. It don't need no more. It looks dry, but that's telling me it's not dry. So I keep this here handy. I have a couple, 2 or 3 plants in the house that I really, really, really want to keep. And that's one of them. But anyway, my potatoes, let's get back here again. These potatoes, it might take 5 or 6 weeks, but it's to your advantage, because by the time they get good and dry and you put them in the ground, the fresh cut will be covered like a peeling and it won't rot that much. You stick them in the ground now, there's a good chance they're gonna rot. The cut's got to scab over, heal. Once it heals, put it in the ground, and you're pretty safe. So that's what we had on our potatoes. We finally got them. They finally got the shipment, and that's what I'm gonna do in about 5 or 6 weeks. Plant them.